welcome back to another Tavern Talk.
Anyway.
Well, anyway, Tate has some video content he wants to show me. He's really into video games and has scoured the web for some of the most epic fight scenes and scenarios that we have ever seen. And he has this awesome scene in mind that he would like to see in a game, and he's wondering my perspective of what we would do. And we're going to go break this down.
So I'm really into video games. So a lot of you guys have seen over the past year or so, I've been doing those character evaluations from characters in video games and such. And one of the first ones I did was Isaac Clarke from Dead Space. Love Dead Space. Dead Space is one of my favorite franchises of all time. And so I was playing through Dead Space 2, and there's a part very early on. I think it's the end of chapter 2.
Right.
Very early on. I'm just gonna show you the clip here real quick. So
now I have no experience with Dead Space. I've played a total of 10 video games.
Yeah, I've played a total of 10 video games today. So I've been playing Fallout a lot too right now. But
I've played Fortnite. I've played a little bit of Rocket League. I've started Baldur's Gate. My computer died on Baldur's Gate.
Dude, my brother got it for PlayStation 5. I have no idea how you played as far as you did. Anyway, so here's the clip from Dead Space.
Here we go.
To give you a little bit of context on this clip, Isaac has just gotten onto a tram system. It wasn't moving, so he's going in there and fixing it so that he can get it moving again.
Right.
And he's just been through a lot trying to get to this point. Anyway, he's following a voice from some gal named Diane or Deanne or whatever, or something like that. And she's telling him, you need to go to the tram system so you can follow us. So this is about a 3-minute segment that I want to show you. And I'm genuinely English hard. I'm genuinely curious how you would run this in a D&D campaign. Like some of the mechanics that you'd throw into this and such. So yeah, so it's just him hacking it, and it's him getting it all fixed. So
And now it's moving.
yeah, so now it's moving.
Now we've got monsters fighting. All right, you want to pause it?
Yeah, sure.
So, first off, it was stationary, and then the player had to go do something to get it to start moving.
Yeah, and I cut it out of this clip, but right before this, he walks into the train station, this tram station.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of zombies there, and he kills all of them first.
Right.
And he goes in here and messes with this machinery to get it working again.
Now, the thing is, if the DM wants the player to get the tram to be moving, but is locking the tram from moving behind a die roll, you're giving it up to chance, even if it was like, okay, you only fail this check on a natural 1. If the die roll was to happen and it landed on that natural 1, you have a 1 in 20 chance of your story being completely halted.
Gotcha. No, so that's actually a good point. This is something we talked about in the past.
Yeah.
If it's something that's important, you don't want it to be behind a dice roll.
Right, but you also want the player to feel like they had to do something to get this thing moving. In which case, I would say, all right, you need to get this tram moving. Do any of you have skills or a spell or any knowledge that you want to bring to the table to get this moving? And I'm not locking it behind a check. I just want a player to say, you know what, I think I can do this since I'm an artificer. I'm going to pull out my tinkering tools. I'm going to go over there to the box and I'll make it, try to mess around with it to get the power rerouted to turn the tram on.
Gotcha.
Awesome. Great. That's an easy answer. That's probably the answer I was thinking, but maybe the artificer forgot that they were there.
Wait, the artificer forgot that they were there?
That they were there.
Like they forgot they had tinkering tools? Is that what you mean by that? Or?
Basically.
Okay.
In our last session, I had Michaela. I knew Michaela had the shatter spell because she mentioned it in a previous session. It was like, perfect. I'm going to get him the monster. I'm going to have that monster have a vulnerability to the shatter spell and be really hard to fight against on all the other attacks, because that was the whole idea, is that you could figure out that the monster's weakness is the shatter spell. But I was really riding on Michaela remembering that she had the shatter spell.
Okay.
Because if she decided that she was not going to cast shatter that entire game, then that fight would have taken so much longer.
That fight was hard, even with
hard.
her having shatter. Since the entire campaign, in the case of Isaac here, is designed around getting the train going. If you're doing this, you wouldn't put it behind a dice roll, because then if they fail it, it's like, well, you don't get the train moving, and now what am I going to do?
Right, and I would allow pretty much any idea that is worth its salt to succeed. If they were to show up and say, oh, I don't know how to get this going. The barbarian is like, I'm going to push it and give it a pushing start, and maybe that'll turn it on. I'm like, sure, perfect.
Yeah, it happens to be on a slope, so you're all good.
You're all good. Or like a propeller engine.
Gotcha,
where you just
gotcha,
have to get it
gotcha.
spinning to get it going.
Just have the...
Yeah. And the barbarian just has to push the cart a little bit to get it rolling enough to turn on and start going.
Gotcha. So one of the things I was thinking about is at the beginning of this, it doesn't show it in this, but at the beginning of this, Isaac had to fight a bunch of zombies, as I mentioned before. He had to fight a bunch of these necromorphs. I think I had to fight like 3 or 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I was thinking of is if you have a situation like this and you need to get the train going, you have someone who has proficiency in tinker tools,
right?
That's working on it, and you have to defend them for like 3 turns while they get it going, so to keep them from taking damage.
And maybe if the tinker tools are so important, like you already have an artificer who has tinker tools, but have one of the zombies drop tinker tools.
Oh, okay. Or like a key card or something to get it going.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So where like, okay, even if the players forget that they can read their character sheets and see what they can do.
Which I do all the time, by the way. I forget what my character can do every session. I'm like, what do I do again? Oh yeah, I have Ancestral Guardians.
You have to spoon feed the player what they need to do. Yeah, and like we said, it doesn't matter what they do. They just have to feel like they did so. And the thing is, the players will feel so accomplished just doing anything. Because it's just, oh, I got the train moving. And they feel like they're really creative. Even though that you had to bend over backwards to make their plan work.
Yeah, you could drop kick the train, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure. That works.
Right? But then they feel cool. It's like, my character was so strong, I got that train to get started.
Right. No, and that's what's really important, too, with these games. With
Yeah.
Characters. Anyway, I want to keep showing you more of this.
Sorry, yeah.
This is right at the enemy starting spawning.
Right. This is also really cool because you got like a kill area or like a wasp's nest or what's it called, like a kill box, where you just have this short little bit of space and all you have to do is just keep on shooting down there.
And then you get these. The thing is, like, these zombies are fast.
Yeah.
Like this one, I killed it pretty quickly because I knew it was coming. But that one spits acid. And usually you can dodge it, but since you're stuck in this little area, it just shoots it.
Oh, that. Just like that.
Yeah, just like that. Yeah, so that's not the acid one, that's one that shoots sparks. No, that is an acid one. That is an acid one, I'm sorry. So usually you can dodge that. First of all, I couldn't see it. Anyway.
Right. This is interesting because there's like time of calm between each monster you're fighting. If you were putting a party of like 3 or 4 in this train car, it would get so packed so fast.
Right, you'd want to be a little bit bigger or something.
Yeah, or have the players spread out.
Or like on different cars kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay. That'd be kind of interesting too for like a puzzle element too. Because like maybe someone's like at the front trying to
and maybe
like, steer or whatever. I don't know.
The reason why they got the cart moving was that each player had to do something in a different cart.
Oh, like release a different break. They all release them at the same time kind of thing.
Yeah,
that would be
like
interesting. That'd be interesting.
And then that's how you can set up your party to be separated from one another.
But not have it be like, oh, we're on different parts of the entire world.
Yeah.
You know, because not like a Frodo Sam versus Legolas kind of thing.
You can control how the battlefield is set up before it actually begins as a DM. And the players don't feel like, oh, you're forcing me to be in the center of the room. I wouldn't have ran in if I knew that there were monsters in there. It's like, no, you set them up. You told them, okay, this is what you got to do. They pull the levers, and then the monsters start showing up.
Gotcha. And then you, that'd be kind of interesting too, because at that point you could like roll like a d4. Like say you had 4 people in 4 different cars.
Yeah. You
could roll a d4 to see where the enemies spawn.
Right.
Which cart they're going to spawn into this time.
I would make that decision ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm a control freak.
Yeah. You said it, not me.
But I will look at it and it's like, okay, I want this cart to start off with the monsters because it's at the front of the train and that is where the zombies are coming from.
Okay, I gotcha.
Rather than just randomly deciding, like, okay, it appears here, and then it appears here, and then I guess it appears here. If I'm going for random, roll for random. But usually, story doesn't happen randomly.
No, I agree with you there, to be honest. And at that point, too, you can make it really stressful. So you can have a character that's been... for kind of like my character Idyllic, who's like never been brought down very low, except for the last time we played. Not the last time, the time before when we were playing. Idyllic, because Idyllic's a barbarian, and he's a really, really tanky barbarian turtle.
Yeah.
And at least when I've played him, he's only been brought down to less than 10 hit points once. I've only been scared for his life once. And so you could get a character like that who's never had anything really crazy happen to him, and then throw him in situations like, now you gotta fight a bunch of stuff that you might know to bring you down a little bit.
Right.
Show you that you're not invincible. So anyway, moving back onto the train, so...
Is the train missing a car?
Yeah, it's missing a couple cars.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so you have to jump between it. It's a grab thing.
Okay, because the train's being held up using some sort of magnets.
Yeah, some kind of magnet or some gravity technology or something. It's basically a space station.
Okay.
I don't think you saw, but the door's got blown up.
I didn't see that, but that makes sense. It's just like, okay, you're trying to get from car A to car C, and there's no car B.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, how you guys are going to get there? And one player is like, okay, I'm going to shoot an arrow with a rope tied to it.
Gotcha.
That's the easy idea. I'm pretty sure everybody's had that idea.
Right. Well, but then, what if there's someone who doesn't have, I mean, this is very unlikely, but let's say there's no rope. For example, so the way that this game starts...
Yeah.
Isaac literally starts in a straitjacket.
Okay.
It's terrifying. Because you start in a straitjacket, you have no way of fighting back, and you just have to run. And so he doesn't have anything. So this is technically this is shortly after a prison break sequence.
Right.
He's essentially broken out of prison in the beginning of this game, and so it's possible he doesn't have anything. So if you don't have rope, there are ways to do. There are definitely other ways of figuring out these kind of puzzles.
And this is where you just take whatever idea your players have and let it succeed.
Right.
It's like maybe the wizard says, okay, what if I witch bolt the engine to supercharge it, and maybe the car will speed up and catch up to the car in front of it.
Gotcha.
And then you're like, yeah, okay, we need you to get into there. We're going to let you do it. I'm not going to make you roll for it. Especially because they're expending a spell slot. If any player is expending something that
has value.
Yeah, it's a consumable, I automatically let it succeed outside of combat.
Right. Well, so there's something that happened recently when we were playing Garrett's game the other day.
Yeah.
Where I remember he had him do a roll for him. I think... What was it? Oh, it was one of the things... So Eden's character was climbing on top of the mountain ridge that we were on.
Yeah.
So to give you guys a little bit of context on this, we were hired to go and protect a medicine shipment that these soldiers were bringing in.
And she spotted something and rustling in the trees up the mountainside. And then the RDM asked her to make an athletics check. And she hated that because she is a monk and put all of her stats into dexterity.
And I remember when it happened, I was like, why is she doing a check to climb up this mountain?
Right.
And because I was like, this really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she gets to the top of this mountain or not. I think it's let her get up the mountain and then have her do a check to see if you can see what's going on up there.
Yeah, and I think at the moment, we really thought that she was going to find something. And once she got up there, she saw no tracks, no nothing, and just...
So it was a check to nothing, and it was just frustrating.
Yeah.
Because if she had failed, she probably would have fallen on the mountain and taken some damage.
At the end of the day, if you're doing a check, have it matter.
Yeah, don't have it be to nothing. Because I love Garrett to pieces, but I was like, that was dumb. That was a waste of everybody's time.
I think we're going to beat the dead horse in all of our videos, because we're going to repeat this pretty much every single time we talk about any check, is that, okay, there are some checks that need to be done as a check, because it is something that would be difficult to do.
Anyway, before we get too off track again, I'll do actually, because this isn't even the part I want to show you with this clip.
Awesome. We're only halfway.
Yeah, the ending is a part that I think you're going to be like, that is really cool.
The light spin. The cool thing about lights is that you can easily hide monsters behind other monsters.
Right. Well, that's what this one. I don't know if you saw that, but I was so focused on this big guy, I didn't notice anything come in until after I killed him. This is is what I wanted to see.
So what I would first do is, as things are crashing and it looks like the gravity shifts and I don't really see what's going on, but as the DM, I would describe it falls off the rails and now it's leaning off the bridge and you're dangling vertically above a chasm.
Gotcha.
Also, if you were to make everybody do a check, that will make the game stop for like 5 minutes for everybody to roll and for you to get everybody's numbers.
Yeah, because they roll it and then like because in my experience they roll their dice and then they'll tell you all at once. And you're like, okay, wait, I got yours. Then you start talking for a minute and then I'm like, okay, what's yours? What's yours? What's yours? And then you figuring it all out and like who survives, who doesn't survive. Blah, blah, blah. Takes forever.
Rolling is what you do when you want to hand wave something happening in the game.
Okay.
So like if you don't want to focus on them like grabbing things, then you would have them all do checks. But if you really want them to focus on what to grab onto, then you ask them, what do you guys grab onto?
Okay.
Instead
I like
of,
that better.
what do you want to do for a check? And it's like, oh, I'm going to grab onto the chair. And it's like, oh, I'm going to grab onto one of those dangling things from the ceiling.
That actually sounds more interesting to me than doing a check.
Yeah.
That really does, and you don't have to put a check behind that at that point, because the cleverness of it, the player interaction with it was, what did I grab onto?
Right.
It would be kind of, that'd be kind of funny for players like, I don't grab onto anything, I just want to slide. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
be my guest.
And maybe one player says, okay, I'm going to grab onto one of those dangling things from the rafters of the train car, and it's like, okay, you reach out to grab it, but let's say it's the wizard who's not very dexterous.
Right.
And it's like,
Or
you reach out to
strong.
grab it and your hand just slips. And you can do that to your wizard and you can just say that and there's no need for a check because you made them slip. And it's like, what do you grab onto next? It's like, I grab onto the barbarian's leg.
And at that point, you don't even have to make the barbarian do a check to see like if he gets pulled away.
Yeah.
It's like just assume that they succeed, because like that one of the things that's so.
Or maybe the
frustrating-
barbarian says, I grab them before they fall.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, what I was gonna say though is one of the things that's most frustrating for me as a player is when it's like, I'm doing like a last ditch thing. I gotta grab onto something or I'm gonna die.
Right.
I'm gonna grab the barbarian,
Yeah.
and then it's like, okay, give me a check, barbarian. Give me a check to see if you fall. And it's like, why?
And so asking them, what do you grab onto in this scenario would be faster, more dynamic, and far more...
It sounds more interesting, is what I was gonna say.
far more interesting
'Cause, like,
than asking them to make a check.
Like, give me a check. I'm gonna do an acrobatics check. It's like, what do you grab onto? Is there like a luggage thing above me? Yeah, I grabbed that. Great. And that's honestly gonna make players feel It's gonna make the players feel like the players are in control in that scenario, because they get to decide what to grab onto,
Right.
and they know it's going to succeed because they're just asked to do something. And
And
at that
maybe you
point,
could
they're going to
say-
feel way cooler about it. They're gonna love that way more than just like, oh, it happened, succeed a check.
Right. And then you can make them panic by making their idea automatically fail.
But then giving them another solution, another option.
But it has to be like a reason for why it failed. Like, oh, your strength just wasn't able to hold on to that
little piece of rubber.
piece of rubber. Or your heavy weight just broke it.
Yeah, like my total is 700 pounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe you reach out to grab it for a luggage thing and you ask them to grab a suitcase.
Oh, yeah.
And you're falling down with a suitcase.
Right, because they have like a low perception or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would require a DM to know a lot about the players themselves, like their stats.
It's always rewarding if you do your homework to understand what your players want and what your players can do. Versus doing world building. Because you can spend months building out a whole world and your players will just speed run through it. Just know who your players are, what your players want, and what their players are going to do.
That, I think, is one of the best things you can do as a DM, is knowing what your players can do, or at least knowing roughly what they want and roughly what they're capable of.
Right.
Because, like, one thing I was thinking about, as I said that, is, like, you have to know your characters, like, who has a low perception, but it's like, you know what? In a situation like that, it doesn't matter if they have low perception. You can just have it, to make it more interesting, to have them grab the suitcase rather than grabbing the luggage thing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, we can move on now. We can move on now.
We could talk about just this for, like, another hour. Anyway.
Oh, that's cool.
The enemies?
Falling down and like fighting enemies. Oh, and then hanging upside down.
Yeah.
Okay. Quickly pause.
Okay.
This would be interesting because everybody in the party will have to have a different experience.
Right. Some kind of different trapped experience, is that what you're thinking of? Or
Yes. So like maybe like you have a player who did succeed in stopping themselves at the top of the falling train. They're dangling like
so they're
50
like,
feet
get
up,
down the train.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then the wizard is hanging upside down
from this cable, like
from
this
this
guy.
cable like this guy, and monsters about to swarm them, and you know that wizard is not going to survive 3 hits.
Right.
And so you're like, crap, we need to get down there to help Wiz.
Or the other thing I was thinking is like someone else is like trapped, like the train, like it's like the train like hits the ground.
Yeah.
So trapped at the bottom of it, and they can't get out.
Right.
So they have to find a way to get out of it. Well, one guy's at the very top, one guy's at the very bottom, kind of thing.
And then having like the monsters on the way down, I think I would have skipped that.
Yeah, so that's actually the point of that was it was supposed to make you panic, and you saw me panic, so I shot him, but they don't do anything to you.
Right.
And
And
that-
if you
that
were
was
to
meant make you waste ammo.
describe that, then the players will hyper focus on those.
Right.
Maybe I would add in the monsters to be like a deterrence from the rest of the party to get down to their separated party member at the bottom.
Gotcha.
And they're like, oh, that's another obstacle we have to deal with as we're going down, trying to climb down this elevator.
I feel like it's something you want to describe, like after everything's calmed down. Though, like once everyone's like in their trap positions, then like you'd be like, then I think you'd want to describe the monsters at that point as the deterrent, like you said, like rather than doing it in the moment. Because like you said, they'd hyper focus on it in the moment.
Like, I would say you slide past like 4 or 5 zombies on the way down. And then you find your foot catching on a cable and you're hanging upside down. You look up to see the zombies clambering up the train carts to go up to your allies above, ignoring you that has just slipped right past you. And you look down this corridor and you see whatever else is coming right next.
Speaking
because
of which,
the wizard is going to have to focus on whatever's in front of them, and everybody else has got to focus on the zombies.
Gotcha. So speaking of like whatever's coming by next.
Oh, this is intense.
Yeah, this part was terrifying.
Oh yeah, show like one little minion, and it's like, okay, that's fine. Waste a spell slot on that.
Right.
Hear noises. Oh, get rid of that one. Get rid of another.
They start swarming at this point. There's tons of them.
Right, and this is what I would do to scare the party.
So that was his stasis, so he slowed it down to keep it from hitting him.
Whoa! And then I'll just start picturing like falling. And then I'll just wait for her to say I can get out of the way.
So that's another way, you don't need to check for that, because if they fail that, they're dead.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to give them a check that's succeed, fail kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you succeeded, you live. You failed, you're dead.
No, but this scene is a really good way to set up like that big boss. The way I would do it with a party is I would have the big boss at the bottom of the train, where you have a party member who got separated from the rest of the group,
Right.
and they're dealing with the big boss all by themselves. And the rest of the party is trying to get down through the train, and they're fighting all of these like the 3 or 4 zombies and trying to get down as fast and safely as possible. Maybe the barbarian's like, I'm going to just drop and I'm going to rage and I'm going to take this damage.
Right. The one thought I had with that, so I'm playing a Toro right now.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like, if I was at the top of this whole thing, I'd be like, I'm just going to get my shell and drop all the way down while raging.
Yeah.
Because, like, the shell makes...
Sure. Let's say you take 66, but then you damage, but then you're raging, so you take half damage.
Right.
And I'm not sure if your shell gives you any
Shell
benefits
doesn't do
on that.
anything. The shell gives you, like, advantages and disadvantages with different checks.
Yeah.
But, like, narrative, like, in my head, it'd be like, okay, I'm going to get my shell to protect myself and
Right.
just drop down. That's the point I was making with it.
And maybe I would give the barbarian a disadvantage. It's like, okay, you fall down and you land there, but you break a bone.
Ooh, okay, wait. So now we're getting to, like, some lingering injury stuff here.
And it just, it would be only a small condition that they have to deal with for the decision they made to speed run that entire section.
Okay, rather than making it. Okay, I see. So it's a risk reward kind of thing.
Yes.
In a situation like that, you'd want to make sure that's something you're doing as a DM already, so it's not a surprise.
Like out of nowhere.
Yeah, because like if that's something that you just did, it's like, why the heck am I getting a?
Or just say there's a really good chance that you'll hurt yourself on the bottom.
Yeah. That's not something you want to like just spring on them.
Yes.
You'd want to be like, okay, if you do that, keep in mind it could really screw you up.
Mm-hmm. And it's like you're going to take damage, but you might get something. And I would have that injury be healed up with just a healing.
Right. Like it's not going to be like, oh my gosh, your leg is broken for like the next like 12 sessions. And
I would do that because it's like, yeah, you're speed running through the scene, but you being down there would make this next portion of the fight be less intense. But if your leg is broken, that's still intense.
Yeah, so you're keeping the intensity, the same intensity. Okay, I got you.
Like, I'm not doing this because I hate you. I'm doing this because I want to keep this intense.
I got you.
And like having a second body down there, I'm rewarding you by having a second body be down there. But I
want to keep it intense still. I want to keep the same feeling, the same stress and everything.
Right. And the awesome thing about this is that you're setting up the party for this scenario where you have the majority of the party be separated from a specific party member that failed the check or was the slowest one to make a decision of what they're going to grab onto.
Right.
And that's how you choose who falls to the very bottom. And then they get singled out by this big boss. And the cool thing about that is that they're fighting the boss, but there's no way that one party member can take on this boss all by themselves. And nobody else can get down there. And it's not like those party members that can't get down there are doing nothing on their turns. Because they have other zombies.
They're trying to, they have their own fight. They have their own challenge of trying to get through the wreckage or whatever, or whatever. However they're trapped, or however you end up doing that as a DM.
Because they have something to do still in that fight, so they still feel like they're meaningful, and they're not just spectating this one-on-one encounter with player A and the boss.
Gotcha.
And then once you have 2 or 3 people down there and they start attacking the boss, maybe the boss is like, nope, I'm not ready for this. This is not the scenario I wanted. I want a one-on-one encounter.
Right. I want to pick you guys off one by one.
Yeah.
That'd be a really interesting idea for a boss.
At the end of the day, that just comes to, as a DM, your biggest thing is knowing your players, what they want to do, and what they can do.
Right.
Right.
It's reward your players. And then the other thing I was thinking of, too, from the synopsis kind of thing,
right,
is narrative is totally fine.
Narrative is totally fine.
You don't have... forego checks for narrative, if it makes sense, to make it interesting and to give your players more control.
And I think the key thing that you have to do here to make that narrative scenario work out is say, you start falling, what do you do next?
Right. Yeah, it's got to be a little guided.
You have to ask them.
That's actually a good point when railroading could work out a little bit. It's like, but anyway, that's another topic for another video. Anyway, that's Dead Space 2. There's nothing wrong with being inspired from things like video games and whatever for your campaigns. If you guys want more ideas, this is what we're going to be talking about a lot more. We're going to be going through stuff like this and talking about different magical items and such, and how they can be used, and different... I'm going to be pulling a lot from video games and such. If you want to see more of that, just make sure you hit the little bell icon and like and subscribe so you don't miss anything that we make.
Right. And if you ever need any ideas or you have any questions of how you can improve your own games, leave them in the comments section below.
Yeah, or if you have like a clip that you want us to go through like this, let us know about it. I'd love to see more stuff that you think would be interesting.
Absolutely. I have seen so little video games.
Oh, or like movies too. Movies, TV shows, whatever.
I know a lot more movies.
Anyway, thanks for watching, and tune next time to Out of Initiative. Woo!